What up? It is your boy, Pigskin Pete, coming at you from God's country. That's right, beautiful northwestern Virginia, up in the mountains and the valleys. It's absolutely gorgeous up here. But while I'm up here, I figured I'd take a chance to give you sort of my opinion on the state of the Clemson football program as we stand here in the first week of June and leading into the year and beyond. So early June is the time that most of these universities hold these football camps. They get a lot of visits from prospects, high school prospects, and they throw out a lot of offers, and hopefully they get a lot of commits. So the same thing is happening in Clemson, South Carolina right now, and Clemson's on a run right now in the recruiting trail. I think they're ranked like number 3 in the 2025 rankings with 13 commits. That's obviously probably not where they'll finish, but they're off to a good start. Not only are they off to a good start with the commits, but you're starting to see the fruits of Dabo's offseason hires as it relates to Matt Luke and Chris Rumpf take effect. Now, Clemson has not had a problem at all, any time in the past 10 years and probably for the next 10 years, recruiting blue chip defensive players. And the defense, unfortunately, has been the side of the ball that's had to carry that football team through some good seasons and some disappointing ones. But the problem has been on the offensive side of the ball. We all know that. And more importantly, at the offensive line position. That's one of the main reasons that Dabo made such a great hire in the offseason by getting Matt Luke. Matt Luke can recruit the offensive line, and maybe more importantly than that, he can develop the offensive line. But right now, they've got 13 4-stars, depending on which site you look at. I think 247 Sports has them ranked 3rd right now with 13 4-stars. You go on some other sites, you'll see there's a couple of guys that are listed at 5-star and not 4-star. We all know how that works. Anyway, at the end of the day, what am I looking at? I know we're going to get good defensive line. I know we're going to get good defensive backs. I know we're going to get good linebackers. Pretty much every position on the defensive side of the football is not a problem in recruiting for Clemson over the past several years. The real problem has been the offensive line and a couple of the skill positions on the offense. Right now, that's looking good. We got some really good offensive line talent coming in, and I have no doubt that Matt Luke will be able to develop them the way that the previous coach was not able to do. The other question is, we've got Klubnik. We know about Klubnik. We've got Vizina behind him. And we've got a commit from, I think, a 3-star quarterback from Connecticut or something like that. So I think they need to get a blue chip quarterback in this cycle. Here's the reason why. Klubnik, let's just say, I know what everyone thinks about Cade Klubnik, all right? Let's play fantasy here for a second. Let's pretend that Klubnik has a pretty good season. Am I saying a Heisman caliber season? No, I'm not stupid. But let's say he has a good season and he decides to come back next year to be the starter at Clemson. Because if he has a good season and he decides he wants to come back, then he will be the starter in 2025. So if he does that, does Christopher Vizina stick around or does he hit the transfer portal? My guess is he's potentially too good of a player to sit on the bench for a 3rd year. So no, I don't think he will stick around. So then what are you left with? That's the problem. And I know this is where the transfer portal comes in too. Well, Pete, you could get one out of the transfer portal. Well, I'm not holding my breath on the transfer portal. So I think they need to do their best and hopefully land a good quarterback in this class. Because again, I'm not counting on the transfer portal. Back to the transfer portal. I've been telling you guys, I get the criticism, and I'm sort of halfway there with you. I got 1 foot in and 1 foot out as far as the criticism of Dabo Swinney in the transfer portal. I feel like I've talked about it so much that I'm just regurgitating the same talking points over and over again, and that's not fun, and it's not entertaining, and honestly, it's kind of annoying to me as a Tater fan. But it is what it is. I get Dabo's stance on it, and I also think that there's some things that should be done different. But here's the bottom line. It doesn't matter what I think about the transfer portal. It doesn't matter what you think about the transfer portal. The only thing that matters is what Dabo Swinney thinks about it and how he chooses to go about using it. So, but like I've been saying, I know everybody is so enamored with the transfer portal and NIL. And we'll talk about NIL in a minute. I know everybody is so enamored with those two things that they think that that's the end-all be-all in college football. We moved into a new era. If you don't do it this way, you're doomed to failure. I think the jury's still out on that. Again, I don't necessarily agree with the way that Dabo Swinney approaches the transfer portal, but it's like I've been saying. What runs college football now and what will continue to run college football into the future is recruiting, development of the players that you recruit, retaining the players that you recruit, keeping them from leaving, and coaching. So on all of those talking points, Dabo Swinney is batting 1,000. We never thought that he would go out and fire his friends that he hires as coordinators. Well, he did it. What did he do? He went out and got Garrett. You never thought he'd fire his friend on offensive line. He went and did it. What did he do? He went out and got Mad Luke, fired the defensive ends coach, went out and got Chris Rumpf. These are big-time players, big-time coaches that can make a big-time impact on all the things I just named: recruiting and development and retention. That is what the sport is still built on. And that's not changing. So all the people that said that Clemson's just going to fall off because Dabo's got his head buried in the sand, I could switch it around on you and say, you want Clemson to fail so badly that you've got your head in the sand. You're not paying attention to all the things that matter the most. And that's all the things I just named. And Clemson is not going anywhere in that respect. So my midseason update, I would give Clemson Tigers, Dabo Swinney, and staff a B+. And the only reason it's not an A- or an A+ is because they got 0 transfers along with Air Force, Navy, and Army. Everybody else got 1. So, that's disappointing. But again, it's not the most important. It's not even the transfer portal, in my opinion, isn't even in the top 5 most important things as far as building and sustaining a successful football program. And I think a lot of you are going to be very disappointed at the way that Clemson's football team as a whole looks over the next 3 or 4 years, for the foreseeable future. They'll continue to recruit the same way they've been recruiting since Dabo Swinney's got there. I think they'll develop a lot of these players, especially the skill position players and the offensive line, better than they have in the past 3 or 4 years. So they're not trending downwards. They're going to be trending upwards. Will they reach the likes of being able to compete nationally with Ohio State and Georgia and Alabama and those type of teams again here soon? I don't know. We're all going to find out together. But the idea and the belief and the delusional belief is what I should say, that Clemson's just driving this bus with no brakes and there's a cliff ahead of them and they're about to just completely fall off of it. A lot of you are going to be very disappointed at what you're going to see over the next couple of years. So B+ grade for Pigskin Pete, and we'll see. I might raise it to an A- or even an A+, depending on where they finish in the recruiting rankings at the end of this year. They potentially could have a top 5 class. I think at the very worst, they'll have a top 10 class, which is higher than any average that they've had since Dabo Swinney's been there. They average around 12 or 13 ever since he's been there for 15 years. So this isn't, they finished 13th or 14th or 15th in this last cycle. Oh, see, told you, recruiting's falling off. Nobody wants to go play for Dinosaur Dabo. You got, he's back in the Stone Age. Nobody wants to go there. Yeah, well, you're wrong. Have a good day.